Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Don't Wait Till Monday podcast. I'm your host, Kirsten Quigley, and I am alongside again for part two of an amazing episode with Drananda Summons.
Hi, Mom.
So, again, just to give you a little bit of a background, if you are not coming from part one, in the last episode, we discussed Summons production and Dranande's rise into music and his love in the arts and everything that has to do with that. But in this one, we're going to shift gears and talk about his nonprofit organization, Refuge of Mount Olive, which he is the presiding officer and chairman of. Refuge of Mount Olive, also known as Roma, which was established in 2019. This is a nonprofit organization dedicated to ministerial operation, community outreach, and empowerment. And I'm really excited to have him on for this episode to talk about this because one of, I think, the first times I met Dran, which is what I call him, um, I believe you spoke about this, and it was right before it was an app, so I was like completely blown away. I think this is a beautiful thing it's so empowering, and it just says a lot about you and your character, and just this what you've created is amazing, and it's going to work wonders for people who are in need of it and the services that it provides. So, without further ado, Janande Summons, thank you so much again for being on another one of my episodes. Here we are for part two. Let's get into it, and please do us the honors of telling us more about your community-based organization dedicated to providing support and empowerment through arts and spoken word.
Brett, thank you again, Kirsten, for having me. I am Drananda Summons, proud presiding officer of Refuge of Mount Olive and the chairman. When I established the doors of Refuge of Mount Olive, it was during a very, very dark time for many people, including myself. It was COVID lockdown, and it was during an unprecedented time where whether you were wealthy or whether you were everyday people or whether you were struggling, you did not know what tomorrow held. We were in such an indifferent feeling as community, as culture, as an entire nation and globe. And so Refuge in Mount Olive started off as a virtual mental health check-in group. And so myself and a few other people stretched from the Bay Area to Chicago. Yeah, we had some people actually in Chicago.
Okay,
Yes.
let's bring
Yeah,
it back.
we had some family in Chicago's that tuned in. We had families in SoCals, we had families that stretched out in the southern regions, in the East Coast regions. AJ Caruso participated in the beginning Love Blue experiences. And so, I mean, it just really was about just making sure people were okay. We
Mm,
were extremely concerned for people's well-being. I was receiving text and a lot of reports of saying, I don't know how to get through this. And a lot of people said, well, I just remember you being able to tell encouraging words to people, and these were from the plethora of places of my life. It was from college, it was from work, it was from people that I've met, just as friends and as connections. And they were requiring of me of hope, and in a way that did not disassociate them in the ways that religion and the systemic ways of church and faith have been coexist and have been conditioned in
mhm,
us.
mhm,
And thankfully, I've been able to understand the power of liberated theology through my current home base headquarters church, City of Refuge UCC, where Bishop Yvette Flunder and the astounding leadership team, and she, alongside her life partner, Mother Shirley Miller, have established a place of inclusivity that focuses around advocacy from LGBTQIA to impoverished to the at risk to the underserved to the indigenous. And it has taught me how to incorporate these faiths and these practices into Refuge, Mount Olive. over the years and currently,
And
as well as, excuse me, I'm so
yeah,
sorry, as well as Mount Olive Baptist Church, which is my home church in Columbia, South Carolina, established by my great grandmother, the Right Reverend Dr. Dorothy Love Pearson, and who is currently presiding my grandmother, Pastor Ella D. White. So it is a lineage of women leadership that I also like to honor and just acknowledge in this moment.
yeah. And how would you say, since starting as just kind of words of affirmation for people in a place of positivity, now becoming to an app, how has that been forming all of this, creating all of this, putting different pieces together to what Refuge of Mount Olive is now?
Yeah, truly, let's say it takes another side of the brain, to say the least,
Mm,
because you want to help someone. But as the challenge for me and the tech team, we were concerned about, well, the how to. How do we help others? And I want to acknowledge Code for the Community, led by Abdullah, who has done an astounding job with helping bring life Refuge in Mount Olive app the talented engineers. It was a team of, I believe, 8 to 10 engineers that really developed the forefront. And our goal and intention for the app is to provide intentional communication and resource to spaces and communities that truly need it. As we understand that there is a difficulty and a challenge for undocumented and even documented people, and we're striving at this current moment to bridge a gap of connection and communication for community that is solidified through our organization, and that will help people be supported with getting to the spaces that they need and getting the legal support that they need and deserve, because everyone deserves to be a part of this America we have.
yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think I remember when you were explaining this, for me to understand it better, I remember using an example. And I think what I said was, so for example, if there was a woman who, Um, I think maybe you said it too, or maybe like a woman that was in a domestic violence situation. She could then go to this app, look up places like shelters or anything that she would need, and it's at her fingertips. She can find that resource.
Yes, and that is currently, if you are going through an experience now, our resources are all in the Bay Area
Hmm.
right now, in the Bay Area, California. But if you are an agent, a change, and identify as one, you can correspond with myself. Follow us at Refuge of Mount Olive, Refuge of Mo on Instagram, and we can appoint you as an administrator, and you can help in your town provide programs and resources that are already established that you know of that will help people that are supportive. We're going to check you out. We're going to vet you out first to make sure that you know you're
Right.
legit. But again, after getting through that process, we will make sure that we want to expand. Now, this is currently for, again, Bay Area, California
Mhm.
persons, but it is invited. We have a globe on the app, so you can download it and you can start plugging in once you get our approval, because we want to make sure that these are safe spaces for persons who utilize the app as well.
Yeah. So the space that you're creating, I feel like we need to acknowledge it as well, the time that we are in right now and the resources people need that this app can provide. Now, granted, of course, in the Bay Area, but what it can expand to and what this episode can reach with people along the US that are not just in your area.
Mhm.
I mean, this is a huge thing, and at the forefront of it all, it's a foundation on community and giving back to people and seeing humans as humans. And that's something I think we are missing very big in this nation right now. And so to see it
Yes.
working in its prime, to see it firsthand, someone I know
Hmm.
putting themselves out there, making this a thing, and it's just really moving to see. And
Thank you.
yeah.
And some people would ask, well, why would you think that an app of all things would be a great resource?
Mm,
And Kirsten, I I was adopted into a level of privilege, but I don't come from a constant flow of privilege. I understand the struggle. I've been through some things and
mhm,
still frankly going through them.
mhm,
And so what I can attest to, what I've witnessed constantly was individuals who were in destitute, who were suffering, who were unhoused. They were able to still have a phone. They were able to still have Wi-Fi or hang out at an area where they were able to get Wi-Fi. And so the thought was provoked that, well, if we can get them to know about the app and they can download the app, they can find the Salvation Army, they can find the food bank, they can
mhm.
find the unhoused supporting area, they can find the YMCA, they can find the Soviet Union. Again, I want to shout out Executive Wilfredo Zuluaga, who was a great imprint on developing the database, as well as our creative design officer, Bako Tiem, who established the database for the app as well, which I know was tedious and still evolving work we are still doing.
I'm just in awe every time, like when you shared it and to see it working now. Do you know how, like, I guess the success, not success rate of it, but um, like, it's because it's an active app. How long has it been like active for? I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
We launched it last summer. I would say,
Wow. Yeah.
yeah, we launched it last summer, late summer. It was really late summer because there were some bugs that we had to fix, and there were a lot of challenges that we're still mastering. And as our app developing team would say, an app is always only 80% done.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still working on perfecting how to serve community in such a time that is needed. And
Mm-hmm.
it changes, it is evolving, and we're learning that. And we want to again serve community without necessarily telling them what to do and how to do it,
Mm-hmm.
still giving them the right and the freedoms that they deserve. So
Mm-hmm.
that is the biggest focus of Refuge in Mount Olive app right now. Has it been effective and resourceful within the Bay Area community? Yes, it has. We're still intimate, we're still minimal, but we are growing partnerships that are going to help provide imprint and support for community that will really again, we as we see the people already doing the work, we're just again plugging in resource. We
Yeah.
don't even care to take credit. We just want to make sure that they get that resource and know that that resource exists, that that
Yeah.
community exists, like, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And so, what would you say was your turning point when you realized you wanted to make this, like, take this to the next level? You wanted to take what started as positive or like positivity and just a space for people to feel safe in or, you know, get themselves out of maybe a hard time. What did that turning point look like for you to take it to that next level?
The shift.
Hmm.
The shift happened. It happened when I got back home with my grandmother, and we had serious conversation. Me to remind you, her being my pastor as well. So,
Hmm.
um, be that as it may, me coming from college, you know, swearing I know everything, and I was in a liberated, inclusive church for a solid 3 years,
Hmm.
and I understood the gospel still in a respectful tone, but I challenged the theories and the perspectives that the gospel has been preached for so long.
Hmm.
And when we use it as a weaponry against LGBTQIA persons and say that this is the justification as to why we should hate, it is only Romanian And it is like the Pharisees going against the inclusivity of Christ. And what we have to understand is truly who Christ was and why Christ died. Because Christ's ministry only lasted for 3 years. So, what could you do to have pissed off the right, wrong people to have been crucified and been an example for such a thing, and then
Mm-hmm.
for all of these years been a testament to mankind
Mm-hmm.
of a sacrifice that we shall not forget? And I am confident that Christ was concerned about the poor man. Christ was concerned about the rejected. Christ was concerned about the social injustice rather than the kings the and the empires and the emperors and empress of that time. That Christ gave no attention to the powers and was concerned for community. And I believe that's where we, as Refuge of Mount Olive, sit in meditation on how we were birthed, because a lot of people were coming to me in a form of wisdom, in a form of desire of inspiration, and a desire of unlocking that what's next for them. And I had to understand that this shift, it had nothing to do with me. It had nothing to do with my choice.
Mm-hmm.
I understood God called me to be an empowerer, be a person to motivate. But to be identified as a preacher, I didn't think so, because I didn't think for a very, very long time that God didn't call gay people to preach. God did not call people who were same gender loving to preach the gospel. And then I witnessed it, and I was like, through Bishop Yvette Flunder, through, her ministry. And I was convinced that, okay, all right, that was completely wrong. But I still did not believe that within the gospel of my cup. I still was convinced that I frankly did not want to disappoint the main person that I loved, which who was and still is my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to, as they say in the South, make a shame. And then she had a conversation with me, and she said, "You gonna preach the gospel."
Mm-hmm. She told you.
And that's where the shift began, truly. And I was licensed and ordained under the Progressive Baptist Association, which is an inclusive LGBTQIA denomination, thankfully. Um, as I am currently in study at the Pacific School of Religion to focus my and further my leadership in my master's in social change. So it has and is a journey and an experience of understanding liberated theology and how to support community in the dimensions, and how to work alongside even opposed, the opposed.
Yeah, and something that I think of too, I I don't want to say I grew up in a church, but I grew up Catholic,
Hmm.
and but I would say I'm not a big practicer of my
Hmm.
religion. Um, Adam is more in tune with it than me. So like over the years I've gone back to church because he wanted to go and things like that. But
Hmm.
needless to say, I think something that's so interesting is the spectrum of religion because here I have someone, like you who is so, well, one can question, these traditional things that came from the Bible or things. I don't want to like, I don't have the right words, I guess, or
You're good.
things.
Take your time.
But how somebody like you can come forward with who you are and be confident in who you are and still reside and find community within churches that were able to be yourself and express yourself as. And then the complete opposite side of the spectrum is against, in the same breath, against everything you stand for, but isn't, because at the end of the day, like, you're all coming from the same Bible. And that's something so interesting to me because I feel like looking at something with religion attached to it can be such a turnoff these days,
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
because of the association that has been made with religious people. And I'm also specifically gearing towards like white people as well. And maybe that's wrong of me to think of white religious and black religious people differently. Um,
That is extremely fair.
but it comes off a lot different because
They do.
you get what I'm saying? I'm trying to
Yeah.
like say the right
You're you're
things.
you're
Like
you're speaking real.
I
Keep
hope
keep
people are
talking.
understanding me.
Keep talking.
Um,
This is real.
but yeah, and it's just so interesting because just the way that it can come off differently. And this is, and something I want to mention with this too is that Refuge of Mount Olive is, kind of founded on these words of religion and these affirmations and ideologies that come from religion and your upbringing and the community that you associate yourself with. But this doesn't like turn me away. That, and again, not as someone who isn't fully uh, dedicated into a religion or a church. Um,
Mhm.
like I don't turn an eye to this.
Yes.
You,
And to add on to it, Refuge of Mount Olive is a nonprofit organization. That so happens to have church once in a while. But
yeah,
we are inclusive to all religions. We are inclusive to all, and I don't mean just you can come and listen to me speak, meaning that we will have you and invite you to come and speak your truth.
yeah,
And we are open to really, really challenging the understanding of what liberation means and connection. And that may look like, in some ways, very confusing and very different, extremely different for some people who prefer the conventional way of understanding what faith, religion, inclusivity looks like. And
yeah.
my biggest challenge was, do we go the avenue of identifying as a religion?
Hmm.
Excuse me, a part of a religious organization? Are we a part of the religious, movement? And I said, well, Christ, I feel like we have to just completely disassociate ourselves from it.
Yeah,
So people don't say, well, this is a, technically, we are not a church, and I may a lot of people, a lot of people say, it's a church, and even some people, acknowledge it as a service when we do have certain events which are revolved around empowerment. But
yeah,
as we grow, my desire is to have all forms of empowerment that
yeah.
is invited in safe spaces for people who are desiring it.
And I think that's too just with religion because it's like a sticky topic sometimes, and I don't understand why it is. I think it should be opened and accepted along all religions and all different things. But it's just like to me, like I said, I when Adam was like, "Oh, I want to like go back to church again," like sure, maybe I wasn't completely in it, but like it's not like I'm gonna walk in the church and like burst into flames because I haven't, like
Hmm.
gone and accepted my communion in years and stuff like that. But it's just like I don't know. I'm trying to get somewhere and I'm like struggling to find the words, but it's just like these spaces. Like yes, sure, it can be. It was founded on these principles, but it is opened up to others, and it's more than that.
Hmm. Yes, there are, if I may, um, there are different forms of church, and this, interestingly enough, has nothing to do with necessarily race because it's on a lot of sides of the agenda.
Hmm.
But there is the eschatology of religion where people believe in eternal damnation
Mm.
of religion. That if you don't do these sets of things, God is watching up high, and gonna strike you down with whatever, and you deserve whatever evil comes upon you because you weren't doing what God. That's what, in a nutshell, the eschato- es, eschatology, a religion is that suppressive form of religion. If you are homosexual, you will go to hell. If you make certain mistakes, you go to hell. The certain things are perceived as sins, and you all can, debate amongst yourselves as
Mhm.
I make that statement. Certain mistakes are perceived as sins, and then there is unforgivable, and there's, you have to tell certain people, and it goes into this unwarranted thing where, again, I don't want to deal with this because I don't
Mhm.
want to feel like shit at the end of this, and work and do all of this work and still feel low and less than. And then there is a new form of theology that has been created over the time, which is focused on liberation, and it is
Mhm.
liberated theology, and it is not suppressive. It is not focused on heaven and hell. It is not focused on whether somebody did this sin today or that sin, or what order they have to be in, what life they have to live, the certain type of career you have to have, the
Mhm.
certain type of way, even as a spiritual leader, you have to perform, you have to represent. It is completely stripped of that, and it's understanding and studying the Bible for what it is. Many Christians believe, and I can only speak for Christians because I am a Christian. I cannot speak about other religions. And I
Mhm.
can attest to the fact that I was raised in the church. I understand Christianity in all its boldness, especially from the Pentecostal Baptist Southern Church. When it comes to the experience of the church, you have to learn that there are certain layers, and there are certain ways that you can really get caught up in the things that can lose your focus on God, because at many Christians, let me get back to my original point. Many Christians are convinced that the Bible was created by God, that the Bible was written by God. People have not gotten off of that illusion that the Bible is developed of different scripts and
Mhm.
scrolls, different letters, and there are only 4 chapters that talk about Jesus.
Mm.
There are only 4 chapters.
Yeah.
And 2 of those 4 chapters, theologians argue, one looked at the other one and said, okay, I'm just going to rewrite this and extend this. And a lot of theologians argue there's 80 to 90% of that uh, writing that was just copied and paste.
Mhm.
So, and we not going, again, I did not come to argue. We did not come to debate religion. That's my
Right.
thing. That's
Yeah.
that's my thing. And again, that is the liberated gospel that I represent,
Mhm.
and that I am also in study of. And I gave those examples because we have to understand what we are studying, what we are representing. Have you read the Bible? Have you understood the true gospel, not in the King James version of a language that we don't even speak anymore? I mean, but have you dissected it? Have you understood it from different perspectives, that even the ones that you may not sit with completely, you're able to receive and you're able to listen in? So it is a challenge. It is an experience, and it is a choice. It is a choice above all, an individual choice.
Yeah, for sure. And I know we definitely just got like carried away from Romo and went a little more to religion, but this is something I wanted to bring up with, for the listeners, I wanted to bring up with Janande, because he is very front and forward about his spirituality and religion, and it's very tied to things he does, and just again that spectrum I was talking about. I think it's just so prominent right now, and it's just so interesting to me. It's like there's just this like emptiness in between that's missing something like community that Janande has brought to the forefront to this world with. Refuge of Mount Olive. So that's where I was like trying to connect everything just to put that back into perception. But yes,
Perspective.
perspective. Yes, I'm like that's not the
I'm
word either. Perspective. Um,
with you.
but yeah, because again, just I just want to link it all back to community, and it's interesting how people can be under one community and still so separated. I just think,
Hmm.
yeah, I think what I'm trying to
Hmm.
get across is just like it's a very big thing right now, and I don't want to go without saying that and ignoring it to an extent when it's something that's like a big deal.
Right.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is
So everything we were just saying, or like a few of my questions that I had, we just like kind of covered with everything we just said. So,
beautiful.
um, and I think even this kind of too, but I'm just gonna ask it as well, so you can dive a little deeper. But what has your communities done for you to take this admiration and turn it into something yourself? Yeah.
My community has held me accountable in real time while being patient with me
Mm.
without holding expectations. As I grow into the young leader that I am now, I constantly reflect on the things that I did when I was like young, just starting out and stuff. And I just think of the amount of patience that was around me,
Mm.
the amount of opportunity, whether I showed up to the, event or, what I'm saying, whether I made it or did not, there was a level of grace and patience. So I thank God, my community. People have changed over the years. Relationships change, they evolve, they grow. Things just are different, after a while. Um, but yeah,
Yeah. And from these communities as well, is there a specific one you were a part of that moved you into this direction, which I think we did just touch on with your church, kind of being that foundation that you that
definitely.
moved you into this direction.
Yeah, my grandmother, my BB, she
Mm.
definitely is my rock. And again, she has encouraged me to keep my faith. My community at City of Refuge, who has been a dynamic just force with me witnessing in real time a par excellent woman like Bishop Yvette Flunder be just Yvette, just be who she is.
Mm.
She can do a commencement speech at Stanford, sing at the Stellar Awards on the next weekend, and then, be on the pulpit the following, and to witness the grace and to be the personable individual that she is. And I call her mom, and to me, I am her son. And to have that grace in that community and that support between her inner family, the church family, the community, the allies. It is a blessing. The Summons Productions and Refuge in Mount Olive community that holds me up and that keeps me lifted and that is concerned for me, the friends who call me and text me and check on me and make sure I'm good. You know, those are the people that keep me going. I remember there was a low time and I wasn't gonna do anything empowering. I wasn't going to do anything with the music. And I don't know what came over AJ Caruso,
Mhm.
CEO of Love Blue Inc. We've been friends since high school, just to give you guys some insight. And we were speaking one day, and I guess he could tell in my voice because after you've been with certain people, after a while, they just get to know you. And for some reason, he just wasn't having it, and he in his inspired self, because as you could imagine, he was coming from, let's just say, the football team at the college won.
Mhm.
And in that moment, and in many moments, but in this moment it was the funniest. He mustered up the strength to say, no, no, I won't let you on Drananda Summons. You are meant to do great things. You got to get your music out there. You got to keep doing Romo. You got to keep doing everything you've been called to. You got to keep pushing, man. We need you to keep pushing. And it went on for about 25 more minutes. And I was ready to just throw in the towel. Just figure out, okay, let me work for somebody. Let me just pay the bills. Let me just get a really good important job, work my way
Hmm.
up, just give up that way. Sometimes it's not about going to the end of the road. It's sometimes
Hmm.
just maybe it's just not meant to work out. And he was like, no, if I can't give up on Love Blue, you cannot give up on, so he wouldn't even let me work for him.
Yep.
So, so again, you need some friends. You need some friends. You need some
Hmm.
friends. I call out my sister Anissa, Anissa Shorter. She is a botanist in New Jersey, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and she just again just did the flower show
And I
actually.
went to high school with her.
Yes, you did go to high school, Kirsten. Yes, yes,
Crazy,
yes.
crazy.
Small world, keep
I
living.
know.
And she has been my sister through
Hmm.
hard times, through difficult times, and I have not been a walk on the beach, and she can attest to that. Hell, AJ can attest to that too. But they have shown me what true siblinghood looks like, and
Hmm.
how to hold on, and how to be friends, and how to be patient even through the trauma and pain and difficulty that one may experience in life. So those are a few people, that I could just really be privileged of. And without my supporting partner, Wilfredo, Refuge of Mount Olive could not have been the the platform in California that it has been without the help of just being my support and let me know, even if it was just us in there, we just had our moment of empowerment.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I just thank God also for a supportive partner.
Yeah. Something else I think that's really beautiful is that you were able to become the person you are because of the communities you've been a part of. And now you're growing one for yourself and for others around you. And I think that's the most important part because, again, we just need community to keep on growing, to keep on building. So I love that you were able to have all these people in your life surrounded by you and um, people were leaning on you, but at the same time, just like you were saying with Anissa and AJ, you were leaning on them. So I just think that's super important. And I love that for you. And I'm so glad you got to share that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Now looking into something else with Romo. So you do fireside chats, which I believe is like a live podcast, and you also do Power Hour. If you can just explain to us the difference between these and then also just a little more about each, that would be great as well.
Yeah, briefly, Fireside Chat is midweek discussion of empowerment. Power Hour is usually on a Soulful Sunday, or we may do it on a weekend experience. Both of them is to provide a level of empowerment. Right now, I am the current host and I lead that. In the future, I do want to co collaborate with other leaders and empowerment platforms. But as of right now, it's just myself. And I do use scripture. At times, I do use quotes, but whatever I'm led to do, especially the timing of what's going on, we get empowerment. We just had a story time experience this previous power hour with a storytelling style. I was trying something completely new, and I hope it was received very well. I hope it was received well. And again, just striving to grow and just evolve in different ways of empowerment that's going to impact and empower community.
Yeah, and I love that because that's, what I want to do with this podcast is empowerment, motivation, inspiration. Um, so anything that aligns with that. I love that and I'm all over it.
Yes.
So yes, definitely tune in if you're looking for some inspiration. And you can find those on the
You
uh
can find you can find them on the podcast experience. We also have Romo Radio, Refuge of Mount Olive Radio, anywhere that you stream your podcast experience, that's where you are able to find Romo Radio. Again, Refuge of Mount Olive Radio. You will find over 500, I believe 700
Wow.
episodes of experiences. If you would like to subscribe to our podcast experience, you'll have a more in-depth experience of our conferences over the years, of the leadership seminars and workshops that I've done with myself alongside other astounding talented leaders in the industry. I have done some works with AJ as well, so those are in there. So again, Refuge of Mount Olive, wherever you find your podcast experience.
Yes.
And we're on Refuge of Mount Olive on Instagram. Just look us up that way, or r.o.m.o.
Yes, love it. Yeah, and I mean, just, as you're sitting here talking about this podcast, along with everything that we've mentioned in part one and just all the moving parts that you're doing, now I want to wrap up the end of part two as well with just some questions about all of this overall. So, my first question just is, how do you balance all of these moving parts that also, I want to say, take a lot, how do I say, it? Just take a lot to do, right? Like you are
Mhm.
pouring yourself into every single thing that you're doing. How do you
Mhm.
balance all of this? How do you find the time for yourself in between these when you need your own empowerment? Like, how is it
Yeah.
balanced?
That's a real question. So, you have to first keep yourself in a level of intentional peace. you know um Again, outlets are important. You know what they are. It's okay. I am a cannabis supporter, so again, and if that's not your thing, you know what your thing is, and just
Mhm.
own it and do it. Make sure that it's safe, make sure that it's helpful to you, make sure that it's not becoming to an addictive aspect. But, make sure you have that outlet. And when you need those days off, that's fine. When things don't go your way, that's fine. I think that people get a little bit too caught up in the specificities of life, and we miss out on if this is a season where you just need to relax, and you just got to relax. If
Yeah.
this is a season where you got to just write down stuff and learn, you got to learn. Like, it's going to come. Whatever you want to happen, it's going to come, but you got to just, again, I believe we were speaking about like spirituality, then practicality, then reality. In order to
Hmm.
stay practical with stuff, just learn healthy practices, because it is an evolving things, and things are often not going to go your way. So just flow with it.
Yeah. And my next question, I was gonna say, how do you stay motivated when times get tough? But it seems like you just said finding an outlet is really, really what grounds you, and you just kind of take things as they are, and then
Hmm.
really listen to yourself. And if you need to go garden for a second, you go ahead and you garden for a second and come back and
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah, like don't forget to live life.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the most important thing that keeps me grounded. Don't forget to live life. Help people along the way, and that will help expand your life in ways that you can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Um, but don't take things so serious that you forget to live life now. Because I promise you, whatever life that you're gonna live is gonna be there, and then you're gonna look back and saying, all I did was that. And so
Mm-hmm.
all I know is that. And then
Mm-hmm.
that's all you gonna know. And then so when you get the opportunity to do other cool stuff, the stuff you always wanted to do, it's gonna be an interesting process.
Mm-hmm. For
Not saying
sure.
that you won't get to it, or not saying that but it will be an interesting process and an interesting download to really receive those things. And you
Yeah.
don't want to go through that. Live not life now. Like, you may not be able to do it on it, and luckily I got a good budget budget conscious partner to, because I'm like, let's live it up. We want
Me.
jumbo shrimp. We want the
Right.
steak. We want the pancakes over
Flights
here.
booked. Yes.
I mean, we want to live it up, and thank God for my anchor and
Mhm.
anchors. My BB and stuff, because she'll also be second in motion and me talking about save some money as well and stuff. And like don't forget to live life, because again, like whatever you want to do, again within the means of what you can, just try your best to do it. Because
Yeah.
oh, I'll do that when I'm famous. I'll do that when it's like you just never know what the future may hold. So
Mhm.
don't forget about now.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's super important to live in the moment, to do things now because you don't know what the future can hold. You just said that. But yeah, it's
Right.
it's true and it's super important. Super important.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with living in the moment right now and doing what calls you, what I'm trying to ask is, what calls you to keep going with these passions and being present in this moment? How does it keep you moving forward?
What keeps me passionate is my faith and meditation. I can truly say the faith in me too, because you got to
Yeah,
have faith in yourself,
you do.
you know,
Yeah,
and the encouragement comes from the people I do want to make proud eventually, you
yeah,
know, the people I want to invite on the journey of my success, those experiences. But it's a choice. There's no turning back at this point. There is
mhm,
no wishing that things were different anymore. I've accepted what the universe has permitted. And my focus is like, if I don't make this work, who is?
hmm, yeah,
And if I have to be the example, then so be it. But I've been a witness, even if it's through watching a documentary,
hmm,
but I've been a witness of people who were sick enough, crazy enough, willing enough, pure enough in their art, in their creativity, in their leadership to do something against the mass that really brought a revolution of some sort. And I'm ready to be a part of that wave. So again, I appreciate the communities that I have developed, created, and also I've been that I am associated with. But it is truly, I count it all joy. I count it all joy.
yeah, for sure. And it's beautiful, and you can tell that's very interpersonal. Is that the word? It's coming from within. It's coming
Yeah.
from within. When I write these questions, I never know what's the answers are going to be, so I'm always just like delighted, and then I'm like, I have to sit with it for a second, before I say, but yeah, I love that. Okay, so now looking into the future, where do you see yourself with, we can bring someone's production back as well, and Refuge of Refuge of Mount Olive in the future, and just Drananda Summons yourself. What do you see?
Yeah. I see. I see a great promise. I see great financial return for both Refuge and Mount Olive Summons Productions. I see great elevation, even evolution for the Drananda Summons brand. I
Mm,
understand that I carry myself and accountability even in third person, because I do have to view myself and my focus as a brand. And I feel like that
mhm,
also kind of answers a question earlier of how do you kind of sustain that practicality and almost that sanity, is
mhm.
that you do have to view your brand and your business and yourself and your talents as an ornament of
Yeah.
skill and profession, and you have to do that,
Mm.
and that's something that takes time to do, but eventually you get it. I see great promise. I see a great destination and an even more fulfilling journey.
Yeah, I do too. I see a lot of great things for all of you and um, your band and your tour and just growth and prosperity for everything. I'm so excited I'm here and I get to share this with you now. And then I'm met you at the time that I did, and I'm seeing this
Yes.
firsthand, witnessing all of it. It's an honor to be in this space with you, sharing all of this. So just thank you so much again for being here, sharing all of this, for just showing up as you and putting your passion to into these amazing things that are really moving, and if you don't hear it enough, what you're doing is truly incredible, and I think it's going to be world changing. I know it's changing worlds for people. It might not be, expanding to the world right now, but for someone it is their world when they get to,
Mm,
you know, whether they're listening to a fireside chat or they're going onto the app and finding a resource they need. What you're doing is very inspiring, and I applaud you for that.
thank you, Kirsten.
Yeah,
Thank you. You're doing wonderful work here, and I
thank
pray
you.
that God just continues to expand your platform as you keep inviting creative minds such as myself and even different onto the show.
Yeah, thank you. And once again, I'm gonna wrap up the show here, but it was amazing having you for both of these, part one and part two, and getting to discuss both things. My mind's like already working towards when we get to meet again and have another episode.
Yes.
But I really appreciate it and appreciate you spending the time here. So thank you. Thank you for everyone listening once again. Don't forget to follow at Don't Wait Till Monday podcast on Instagram and TikTok, or if you're here from YouTube, you might as well subscribe. So you can stay in touch if you ever want to reach back out. Maybe you have some comments from the episodes. I'm always open to hearing. Maybe you want to touch base on something. That's exactly what I made this platform for, anyways, to hold open discussions and just share different things with different people. So thank you, listeners, for tuning in and supporting me. I'll hand the mic over to Janande now as he can close it out with anything he wants the people to know.
Thank you. You can follow the Refuge of Mount Olive experience on Instagram at r.o.m.o. And you can also follow and listen to us, even subscribe to our podcast experience everywhere that you have your podcast accessible. Refuge of Mount Olive tag. Thank you so much. May heaven smile upon you.
And is there, since it is a nonprofit, is there any way if people wanted to donate that they could donate to Romo?
Yes, from the Instagram experience, you may find our codes where you can donate.
Perfect. And I'll be able to, I'll make sure to link this in descriptions as well to provide that. But again, thank you, listeners. Thank you, Jananda, and everyone for being here. And I will catch you on the next episode. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.